Yeah, it was. You got to find in these seasons different ways to win. It's a young season for us. Obviously, offensively, in the first half, I thought we left a lot of points out there, especially in offensive transition. Didn't seem I missed a lot of shots within 2 or 3 feet of the goal, fumbled balls at the goal. Didn't make great decisions, but one thing consistently we guarded. And we held them to 31% in the first half, and that's the reason we could be up 15. The second half, I thought we guarded the three-point line. That's something. Last year we weren't very good here defending the three-point line. The first 2 games we haven't been very good. And that's been a harping point. Because if you can't guard a three in college basketball, you're going to struggle. And I thought tonight that's the best I've seen Terrence Davis defend since I've coached him in practice or games. He did an unbelievable job on Jefferson. 1 for 7, contested all the shots, stuck right to the game plan about guarding different actions they ran. And so as we weren't very pretty and very smart offensively the last 6, 7, 8 minutes, we guarded it at a good level, which allowed us to win how we did.
You mentioned with Terrence before, even when it's not going in offensively, as he's 4 for 12 tonight from the floor, you want to be active defensively. Is this kind of what you were talking about? You see him like this?
Yeah, can you affect the game and not shoot a high percentage? And he did. 8 rebounds, 4 blocks, held their leading scorer, averaging 20 a game, to 1 for 7 and 3 for 13. The only 3 he made all night was when Blake knocked him down, at about 30 feet, and really kind of guarded him as good as you could guard him. And so you better believe it. That's when guys evolve. That's when you start getting all SEC players that are legitimate and go affect national games. When they don't have to make a lot of shots, but they can really affect the game in all of the areas. And he did that tonight.
Experimenting with starting lineup still, or?
Yeah, I am. KJ Buffin was in the lineup. He missed a tutor. He hadn't gotten back in the lineup. Devontae missed 1 tutor. He didn't, and then Bruce has beaten Dom out in the last couple of days. But one thing we do is that when we start tomorrow, everything's back going again. All positions are back going. We have a point system that we keep, and sometimes we'll stick to the points and start whoever has the most points. We keep deflections, rebounds. That way we're trying to make practice stay competitive. And so, we've got to get Dom and Bruce going. I thought Bruce went a little bit better in the second half. We got to keep him out of foul trouble, and we got to get Dom just to go next play. Next play, we've been talking about it, because he's got to be in there and help us for our team to have the year we want to have.
What did you think of Buffin's play at the 5, and do you see his role growing there?
Yeah, I thought KJ. One thing, KJ is maybe as smart as any player on our team, basketball IQ, for that age. He should be a 2019. He should be in this class, recruiting. He can play the 5. You can put him at the 2. He knows in line of bounds at the 2. He can conceptually, he gets it. And so I thought that he, just from an IQ standpoint, did fine. I didn't think he was very physical tonight, so he can play better. But he's invaluable because he can play 3 spots on the floor. And that's, when you get a guy that can do that and execute, oh boy, it makes you feel good with guys coming off the bench.
To see more shots from Henson?
Yeah, I would. But, Blake has got to be able to score without just standing, catching, shooting a 3. He's got to be able to shot fake on long closeouts and drive the ball and be athletic at the rim and be able to mid-range jump shots. So we talk about that all the time, that he can't just – he's a really good shooter, but we got to get him to score, really at the other 2 levels.
Coach, to get back home after being on the road last week, just to get a win for you guys, how huge is that?
Yeah, anytime you lose, and there's 0 moral victories, at Butler. Our whole team. We went up there thinking we were going to win the game, and we played like it. But Butler kind of made a few more plays down the stretch than we did. We couldn't keep them off the line, and so our locker room was disappointed. And we tried to come back, and we talk about, is any time that you lose a game, what is the perception when people watch you the next time? I'm always curious watching teams. Whether it's football, basketball, I love watching teams coming off losses and how they respond, and body language. And I thought our team responded in a good way from just a physical standpoint tonight.
You mentioned needing Dom in there. Do you feel comfortable with KJ at the 5 for longer stretches of minutes?
Against Nicholls State, yes, but when they start trotting in all those 6'10", 6'9", 240-pound centers, it's going to be hard for KJ. Now, he can stretch them out on the other end, so I think in some non-conference games it'll be much easier. I think in the future, KJ can a year or two down the road when he gets to be 230 pounds, but he's not that right now, you know. So Dom and Bruce, those guys need to play for us.
You go to Florida, obviously on Friday to play quality opponent in Baylor. What's the week going to be like? You got Thanksgiving. I mean, what's the team stuff?
Yeah, we're going to get up and lift weights in the morning at 8:30, watch this tape at 9:15, and then like a lot of the teams and athletes do here, Rawson, it's adopt a basket, right, for a lot of underprivileged families in Oxford. So we're going to take about 2 hours, and we've got 15 families that we're going to deliver Thanksgiving and turkeys and, you know, to their homes and do that for a couple hours, and then we'll practice. And then we're going to fly down tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And because we didn't want to be traveling with the Egg Bowl. We want to get down there and be able to practice, have Thanksgiving during the day, and then we'll watch the Egg Bowl, you know, 6:30 in Destin.
I know, though, obviously you want to win when you get down there, but two quality opponents. I mean, what do you want to see your team improve upon from Butler to now Nicholls?
Yeah, I mean, just what you said, win. You know, win. And Baylor looks like an NCAA tournament team, like they always have. Very interchangeable parts. You know, college basketball, I said it on the radio show, you know, sometimes we're up 15 and coaches are still kind of pulling their hair out and everybody's going, why is he so uptight? Well, the very first game of the year, Texas Southern beat Baylor. And Baylor hadn't been beat since, and Texas Southern hadn't won since. You know, so you know how college basketball is. So I can tell that Baylor has really grown since that first game, and they're very physical, good size, and it's going to be a good Big 12 team this year.
Back to tonight, you mentioned earlier in the season there were two numbers that were important to you: assisted buckets made and winning the rebounding battle. Both of which, like, shots weren't falling tonight, but you still assisted 21 of 26 shots.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, 21 of 26 is about as good as it gets. You know, 16 turnovers is too many, but that's when the ball really moved. And it could have been at a higher level as far as makes, you know, just because we didn't finish some balls. But that's the team that we're going to have to be, especially on the road, you know. And our turnovers were too much. We allowed 24 points in the paint, which is big. Another big stat for us is going to be the opposing team's fast break points. Because you get in this SEC and, boy, and teams like Baylor, and you can't get your defense set in the way these athletes play in the broken floor, that's going to be something we're going to have to do too.
You comfortable with the amount of minutes like Terrence and Devontae had to play tonight? Are you hoping to kind of build some more depth?
It's a good question. I mean, we need to stretch our bench. We do. We need to stretch our bench. And, you know, so I put Brian Helms, you know, Scooter in there, and he's so athletic, but – you know, he just kind of took off on his own like twice. And we tried to run one set, and he didn't run it right. And so that's just been kind of his Achilles' heels. He's an SEC athlete, and he wants to do well. And he's going to be a good player before he leaves here. So Luis Rodriguez, I thought, you know, played good in the last 2 minutes. You know, he playmaked and made some plays. And so that's why normally we wouldn't really try to score the last possession, but that's why we did. Because I wanted that guy he needs to play. I mean, he needs to get a possession of just playing. Nobody's trying to run up any score. I think Coach may have got mad. I don't know. But it was just we wanted to try to play and let it run a set, and he did. He made a great pass, and Bruce dunked the ball. So I got to start trusting those guys more.
How's Franco doing?
You know, we shut him down again. We shut him down completely. He was trying, but he was just like he was wounded. You know, so we shut him down completely. And we're not going to get him out there unless he's full board, because we want to see him right. And, you know, he was trying to play through some pain. And so we're just going to evaluate it about every week, every 2 weeks, and just kind of see where it is. And it may be Ben. It may be middle of December, 1st of January. I don't know until he can get completely healthy and we put him out there.
You mentioned earlier Bruce has kind of outplayed Dom over the past few days. What's your message to Dom going into this stretch, you know, going on the road?
Just stay positive. Keep your head up. Everybody's pulling for you. You know, he can just have 1 or 2 plays in a game, and it'll affect him 2 days later. I mean, he's played really well for us. He's a huge part of our team. And everybody in that locker room tries to keep Dom going, you know. And so he has just got to just go next day, next play. You know, we all got to do a good job staying positive with him, because he is a huge, huge part of our team being able to reach the ceiling that we want to reach.
More questions? All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming. Happy Thanksgiving.